like the nature of space and time.
Holy metaphysics, Batman!
Philosophy and the superhero, next time on Philosophy Talk.
Listen to Philosophy Talk every Tuesday at noon on KSJE 90.9 FM, Farmington. KSJE is supported by San Juan Regional Medical Center, here for you, providing safe, quality care. Stay informed on the COVID-19 developments to protect yourself and your loved ones at sanjuanregional.com or the COVID-19 information line at 505-516-0938 or 888-949-5387. San Juan Regional Medical Center, caring for the Four Corners since 1910. Ten minutes past 8 o'clock. It is Monday morning, April 13th. Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Micklin. Thank you for tuning in to KSJE, the community-supported radio station at 90.9 FM over the air here in San Juan County, 103.3 FM over the air in Durango, Colorado, and streaming everywhere from our website at ksje.com. Special good morning also to our viewers who are watching this visual radio program streaming live out to the KSJE YouTube channel and Facebook page. Welcome aboard, everyone. We are glad that you are with us. Coming up this morning, we are talking about April being Sexual Assault Awareness Month. I'll be joined with my guests from Sexual Assault Services in Northwest New Mexico in the next few moments, so we hope you'll stay tuned for that. Then later on this hour at 8:50 a.m., I'll be talking with Lewis Campbell from Synergy Computers. It is our weekly technology program called Monday Reboot right here on KSJE. That is coming up. And then don't forget, our local coronavirus information program resumes today at 9 a.m. online on YouTube and Facebook. Co-host Megan Cullip will be here, and we'll be speaking with San Juan Regional Medical Center CEO Jeff Bourgeois. He'll be joining us live this morning for an update on how the hospital is dealing with the COVID-19 and also much more. That's coming up this morning at 9 a.m., and we hope you'll join us for that, of course, and there'll be a chance to listen to it on the radio later on today. I'll tell you about that in just a moment. On the radio side of things, at 9, Mick Hess is roving with the arts, as he always is, and he is playing Schubert's Symphony No. 1 on Roving with the Arts today. That's over the air, of course, and streaming at ksje.com. In addition to, of course, at 5 p.m. tonight, you can listen to our local information program on coronavirus. The audio is rebroadcast every afternoon at 5:06 on KSJE on the radio. So remember that and pass that along to folks who may not be online to be able to listen to this information that we are sharing Monday through Thursday every morning live at 9 a.m. In addition, of course, to Facebook and YouTube, you can always check us out on Twitter and connect with KSJE on Instagram as well. Here's the weather forecast, a little bit different from the weekend, of course. It's going to be partly sunny today with a chance of some scattered showers today, maybe even a snow flurry this morning before it warms up. Today's high, much colder than we've seen, 54 in Farmington today. A chance of showers and scattered thunderstorms overnight tonight with a low of 27. Sunshine returns on Tuesday, but even colder temperatures with a high of 51 tomorrow and a low of 21. Sunshine and 60 degrees for a high on Wednesday, 64 and sunshine by Thursday, and mostly sunny and 62 degrees is the forecast for Friday. Well, let me turn to my guests who are here with me this morning, and through the miracle of Zoom, we are talking with Eleana Butler from Sexual Assault Services in Northwest New Mexico, and also Brandi Wright from SAS. Good morning, everybody. How are you?
Good morning. We're good. Good morning.
There's Eleana, and there is Brandi. Good morning. I appreciate you both joining me this morning to talk a little bit about Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And Eleana, let me start with you about this month. It's usually a busy month for SAS, and I'm sure it's still busy for you, but maybe not as many events going on because you just can't have events this month, right?
That's right. I'll actually, in a moment, I'll turn it over to Brandi because that's exactly what's happened. It is Awareness Month, and we're doing most of our awareness online at this point. Everything that we've had on the calendar is crossed off, which is really unfortunate. We were really disappointed. We had a lot of great things planned, in particular up at the college, and Brandi's taken over our online presence for SAM, and there's something called 30 Days of Sam, and that's what we're working on this month, and we're almost halfway through.
Okay.
Andy, do you want to
Let me turn
that a little?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is a huge bummer that we can't be out in our community doing the prevention work that we normally would be doing as prevention educators. I especially was a part of the team at San Juan College that planned this whole month of events and educational moments for the students and the community at San Juan College, and all of it was canceled, obviously. And so we have to get creative. And so this year we're really focusing in on the National Sexual Violence Resource Center. They come out with this big challenge every year where they are prompting and encouraging people to engage as advocates, victim survivors, and so they give prompts for every day. And I can give some examples.
Sure.
Where they are, they give you like a small phrase, and then you post about it, but you hashtag 30 Days of Sam, or and then the day that you're posting, so hashtag day 3 or whatever. And then they actually have a competition. And so every day they are picking a winner for that day and focusing in and sharing those photos of the folks who they thought did a really good job that day. Then if you participated every single day for in April, then you're entered in to win this grand prize at the end of the month. And it's just a fun thing. It happens every year through the National Sexual Violence Resource Center. This is just really the first year that SAS has focused in on it. So every week or every day, we're reminding folks to pay attention to that prompt. And then my partner is a filmmaker. She's the teacher up at Piedra Vista for the film class. And so we're taking her passion and my passion, and we've, because we're both working from home right now, we're making videos almost every day to post online, encouraging folks to participate in this challenge.
How great. And so how can we see these? We can go to the SAS website or Facebook page, or how are you sharing these? Or
Yeah. So right now, Facebook for SAS is the go-to.
Okay.
We are updating our website. So, but the website has a little bit of a lag in terms of the Facebook post and then posting on the website. SAS hasn't committed to Instagram. I'm on Instagram, and so I'm sharing lots of stuff.
You are totally on Instagram. I hate to interrupt you, but you are so on Instagram.
Yeah. I mean, that's my generation too, I think.
Right.
But nobody at SAS has said, like, I will commit to Instagram, because that's a whole nother beast. And
it really is. You're right about that. But but Facebook is kind of the go-to place, and then the SAS website, of course, which is the other place where we can go and get information about what you're talking about so far, correct?
Yes. Also, I would encourage people to follow NSVRC. Follow their handles. They're at NSVRC on Facebook and on Instagram, and see what other people are posting. Because, man, people are really, really creative around these prompts. And also, if you are a survivor, if you're an advocate, if you're somebody who just supports the cause, period, to see how other people are raising their voices through social media is actually really touching. So I would encourage folks to check out those sites as well.
All right, very good. And Eleana Butler, let me turn to you a little bit. I'm not sure if Brandi just volunteered to get SAS on Instagram, but I'm not sure.
You know, you called her out and I didn't have to, Scott, so thank you.
I just heard what I heard, but
I think she just got the approval.
Right. But this is so important, is it not, Eleana, to share some of these stories and some of these individuals in social media when we can't do it face to face?
Absolutely. It's actually crucial, especially now during COVID. Everybody's world has been turned upside down, and talk about feeling alone. Some people who are struggling with a lot of different things, not just sexual violence and rape in their history, but lots of other issues. And this time of stay at home and stay away from people, that is tough for folks who are reaching out for help.
Right.
And who really need that connection. And I know in a moment we'll talk about what we're doing for our current services. But yes, so accessing anything that Brandi mentioned through our Facebook, through NSVRC, any of the other supportive platforms out there. RAIN is another good one, the Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network. It is really crucial for folks to reach out and stay connected, and so that they aren't, and just continue to know it's our mantra in our world. You're not alone. And really in this time, people are feeling alone, and we want them to feel connected.
Right. And, as we all do our best to physically distance ourselves and stay at home and don't go out and don't gather and all those different things, you're right. It can feel very, very lonely. And it's important that folks have these resources to reach out to and connect with. And you mentioned, Eleana Butler, about SAS's services that I'm sure continue even during this time. There are still people who need what you do, correct?
Yes, unfortunately, we were sort of hoping, everyone hoped that maybe during this time people would really just settle down, and that just hasn't happened, unfortunately, in our world. We, about a month ago, it was the week of spring break, actually, right before the week before the stay-at-home order happened in New Mexico. Our therapists started working at home, so all of the therapy clients that come to the office and any even new referrals, they're still being triaged the same way. They're being referred into our therapy services the same way. They're just doing it over either the phone or telehealth, which is, we have a secure online system where the clients can do this with their therapists, see each other this way, and still continue services, which is really important. We did that week of spring break, kind of guessing that this was coming and needing to limit the number of people coming into the office. So the therapists started working at home. Some of us as staff started working at home that week of spring break as well. I have literally I've left my house once in a month, not my house, but this area where I live.
Okay, right.
And it's crucial that we all do our part. And so then on that end for the crisis services, so Brandi's an advocate. We have several advocates here and down in Gallup. They are rotating in and out of the office based on their call week. So Brandi's actually at the office this week, because it's her on-call week. And our SANE services, the sexual assault nurse examiners program, is still happening. It's been deemed an essential service. And we have worked really hard to get the office up to where we're supposed to be in terms of PPE, the personal protective equipment, really limiting the number of people that are in the office. We work really hard. We have to keep it to 4 or less. So if there's a client in who needs a SANE exam, it's the nurse and the client, usually just them. Advocacy has to be done remotely, and that's a challenge. This time is just unprecedented, and in order we're working really hard to provide the best services we can, and everyone's so used to being right in front of the person that they're working with and being able to hold their hand and give them a hug if that's what they need. So everyone's navigating incredibly well during this time, and it's really a challenging time, but we have to continue to move forward and serve survivors. And unfortunately, our numbers we haven't really seen a drop. We continue to see our consistent amount of, now it's around 12 to 15 patients a month for SANE exams.
Wow. And I think a lot of folks would think that those numbers would drop because of what's been going on in the world and everyone maybe staying closer to home. But that could cause another issue, I suppose, if you're in a home and you're in a relationship that could be abusive. Is that something you're concerned about too? Yes.
In fact, a lot of the conversations that and webinars and calls that we're on have to do with IPV, interpersonal violence, and sexual assault is very much a part of domestic violence, child abuse, child sexual abuse. Usually what we talk about all the time is that it happens often in the home or by someone that child knows. And so, the concern is really high that those folks that are in those situations now have no out and they're stuck. And so the folks, especially in the DV world, which filters into our world as well, are working really hard to try to figure out how to continue to reach out to folks, have them understand that they can still call for help. Law enforcement's working, obviously 24/7, and the shelters are still open. So those essential services for domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse, we're all still operating and working really hard to keep people safe and get them out of bad situations.
Right. And all these things that we hear about, certainly the layoffs, the furloughs, the unemployment, that certainly causes stress in the household, and that leads to some of these things too that you're talking about in many cases. It's well documented, correct?
Yes, the isolation that abusers that's what they do to their victims is even heightened now, and then the stress associated with if someone is furloughed or laid off because they're not an essential worker and now they're home all the time with their spouse or partners and children, then that extra stress can create a lot more violence in the home as well.
So the work continues, of course, with Sexual Assault Services of Northwest New Mexico. And Brandi Wright, once again, going over to you. You are kind of advocating and getting the message out about all the services that continue and the other stories that you mentioned that other folks can watch. And you're making some videos, as you mentioned, and putting those out as well. What have been some of the topics of your videos that you've been making?
Yeah, so we have, we're updating folks on those prompts for every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We're making a video just to say, hey, don't forget to participate. Don't forget to support victim survivors. Don't forget to continue this really incredible work of just spreading awareness and educating folks on sexual violence and the prevention of sexual violence. And so we're posting the prompts every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but we also are working on what is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. That video will be posted soon. We're working on what the services at SAS are more specifically, and it's kind of a sit down with a coffee cup and a lamp and some flowers. I mean, kind of setting just to say, like, you know, here's a conversation, and we're sorry that you can't be a part of this conversation, but please participate in these kinds of ways. And please know that SAS is here to continue supporting survivors and to continue doing the work in our community. Just because there's minimal folks here in the office, it doesn't mean that work doesn't stop. And so we're just consistently reminding people of that work.
And that's important. And again, as Eleana mentioned, the numbers really haven't gone down that much. So you have to know that there are folks out there who really need to maybe see and hear the messages that you are producing in these videos. Yeah,
and it's been so interesting. I recently sat in on a really small Q&A webinar and it was promoted nationally, but I was the only person that wasn't from the Northeast in Massachusetts. Yeah, I was the only one. And eventually I chimed in and said, hey, what about rural communities? And they were like, oh, that's a really good point, Brandi, from New Mexico. Let's talk about rural communities. So that was really interesting. And I will say that, in that part of our country, they absolutely were feeling and thinking the same way that we are. It just looks different because they're big cities, but their numbers aren't changing either. Violence is still happening, and people, advocates, and rape crisis centers are still offering support and still offering services. It just might look a little different.
Sure, right. And you bring up a great point, Eleana Butler. Let me turn back to you a little bit about how you provide services in rural communities as opposed to maybe a little bit more urban areas. And I know, of course, this is something that SAS does and has done for years and years and years, serving Northwest New Mexico. But it is a little bit different, is it not, when people have to maybe drive an hour to get to a nurse or just not have full access to some of the information that folks have in a more urban area?
You're absolutely right. The transportation in our area is for every service, whether it's a service provider or people have been trying to come into town to get groceries. I mean, transportation in our area is a really tough issue, and the cities here have worked for a lot of years to try to alleviate some of that for folks. We run into it all the time. If somebody is out living very rurally and doesn't have transportation to get to the office, we have two choices for cab service, and sometimes they can go that far and sometimes they can't.
Right.
Fortunately, we have access to some emergency funds that allow us to purchase gas cards, so someone can actually get to us which that's the challenge in the first place.
Right.
Then we can provide them a gas card to get home. And we actually do that for when our therapy clients are seen in the office, they actually can do that. We can use those cards for that as well. So I think transportation is one of the biggest challenges. But the other thing is just, like you said, that information sharing. And this has really been heightened now with COVID and with folks just not even knowing, if you don't have internet access and you don't have a place to access information that's not within your just really small community, and you don't know what's going on and you don't know the services that are available to you. That's the reason why we have quite a bit of, not quite a bit, I shouldn't ever say we have quite a bit of funding for anything, but we have funding
Right.
to do, reach out to the very rural communities where we have a staff person that is in Dulce regularly, down in Crown Point. Our Gallup folks are out and about in the community in McKinley County all the time, trying to make sure that people understand the service exists to start with, and then how you get to us. So let's amplify that now during these times when we can't go out, we can't see people in person, all the presentations have been canceled, and trying to do something like this, a Zoom call with a chapter house or a school out on the reservation in order to provide service, it's non-existent at this point. We have yet to figure that out, and we know that we're in the early stages of trying to navigate this whole piece. And I think I say this every Monday. I always have a lot of hope on Monday mornings when, okay, it's a new week, we're going to tackle all these issues, and then all of a sudden everything comes up. The
Right.
first week it was the stay-at-home order. The second week for us was, I can't even remember what the issue. Oh, we had to do pandemic policies, just focusing in on all of that. So I'm so grateful for the staff, like Brandi and the other staff are really trying to get creative in figuring out how to make all of this happen and make it work.
Sure. And you bring up a great point. I think that I have learned too during all this health crisis is that we don't have as much internet connectivity as we may wish we did. I'm a teacher here at Salmon College, and even some of my students have problems connecting and moving everything online, which we have done. But the issue is, we need to reach out to those folks or find out how many folks don't have reliable internet access and couldn't talk like we are right now on Zoom or other things. And so that's got to be important. Sometimes you just have to go old-fashioned and, I guess, make a phone call or answer the phone or send something through the mail.
Yeah, we have a kiddo who's in kindergarten, and we've had people reach out to us a variety of ways because our internet is not that great. There's some platforms, like Zoom for me is excellent. It works usually really well, but my internet's not good out here. And so there's a couple other platforms we've tried that the delay is too much between
Right.
us talking. You just can't. It just doesn't work. So
We're grateful for the good
that's-
connectivity with Zoom today. I'll tell you that. So thank you.
Yes.
That's-
Yes, thank you.
That's wonderful. And Brandi, let me turn back to you a little bit about what we're talking about, because again, all of your things that you've been talking about, a lot of them anyway, are through the internet and online, but are there some other things that you're able to do for folks who maybe don't have that connectivity to still get the message that you're working on?
So I do know we haven't done this, but I can I can say confidently that folks in other places in bigger cities are using things like PBS to
Right.
reach the community or to reach the homes of small children, and giving small children the words to use and resources in a way. It's just they're using the platform of PBS to do something like that. We haven't found a creative way to do that yet. So I think that our prevention team is still brainstorming and trying to come up with those ideas. I do know that there's folks around the state who have purchased or paid for billboards to give folks resources and prevention tools and just ways to support victim survivors. But again, we haven't necessarily found that way yet. Right now, we're really leaning hard into social media. So
Sure. Well, and
think that
that's
if folks have an idea, we're absolutely excited to hear those ideas.
You bet. Well, that's a quick way to get the message out to a lot of people, and I understand that. So that does definitely make sense. But shout out to PBS. Again, public television, we've heard that they are doing some things in the Albuquerque area and throughout the state to present some educational lessons for, I think, K through 5. And so they've kind of stepped up in that way. But this is all fairly new to all of us, and so there are maybe some other options out there. So I know that you're looking for those. Eleana Butler, let me turn back to you about SAS's services that you offer here in Northwest New Mexico. And I know it's always important to remind folks that you are confidential. These services are confidential, and if folks do reach out to you, their identities are somewhat protected, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Services are confidential and private. No client information is ever shared with anyone unless the person gives permission.
Right.
Most commonly, that's obviously the SANE exam. If the person decides to have the sexual assault nurse exam, it's the medical forensic exam that we have several different time frames that, depending on someone's age, that we can do that for them. And if they choose to make a police report, then they sign permission, they sign consent for us to share the information collected, the documentation that the nurses do for that person if they decide to file a police report. And other than that, everything else is private and confidential. And even in that space of SANE, it's only released, the information is only released to the entities, law enforcement, the district attorney's office that person chooses.
Right. And I think that's always important to remind folks about. And so as we get to our final moments here this morning, Brandi, Wright, would you mind repeating again some of the places where we can go to see some of these messages that you are producing and sending out? It's the Facebook page and the SAS website, correct?
Yes. Follow us on the SAS Facebook page where we're updating every day. And then also, if you are even more encouraged, follow the National Sexual Violence Resource Center, the nsvrc.org, where they are giving lots of really great information and keeping folks up to date. This is a national challenge, and so to be able to see how folks are responding and supporting other victim survivors is really cool, and it's kind of inspiring sometimes.
No kidding. Very true.
Scott, if I could pipe in really quick. So today, we're on the 13th, right? Is that today?
That is today. I know. Yes.
This would be a good day for folks to get started because it's not, sometimes I look at them and go, oh my gosh, I'm not that creative. But today is Spell It Out, SAAM, Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and use objects to form letters, SAAM, and snap a photo. That'd be a really great way to get started.
That would be.
If you haven't already, to start participating. And we will certainly, if you want us to, we will share it. If you tag us in your post and folks' post, we'll share it. You can send it to us. Brandi can include it. And so
And I'm always saying in those videos to post the photos down in the comment section, and then we're going to reshare them because that's basically permission, right? If you're going to post your photo in the comment section, then you are giving us permission to share your work. And so if you want us to share how you're supporting victim survivors, that's the best thing to do is just tag us or give us permission basically by posting that in the comment section, because we think that there are a lot of really amazing activists in our community that aren't being recognized and aren't being showcased. And so what a great moment for that.
No kidding. That's very true. Well, great advice, both of you, and great ways to support SAS. Again, Eleana Butler, if folks would like to even support SAS as well with a financial contribution or whatever, I know you're always open to that as well, correct?
Oh, of course. We actually have been working really hard on increasing our monthly donors at a much smaller amount. So I've talked before in different places around, $10 a month adds up to a really good chunk of change. And with the more people that do that, the more flexibility we have to provide the kind of services and get creative to support survivors. So, giving up or just pretend like you're adding that second cup of coffee or 2 cups of coffee every month, that's not a lot of sacrifice for folks. But we also regularly post as we need items on our Facebook page. Brandi will post what our need is. If we need blankets or food in the office, those are always things that we can use. And once in a sorry,
That's all right.
my something did something. There we go. Once in a while, we can.
You look
we'll
for
do that. So watch for that
donations
on
on your Facebook page. Got it. Very good. Well, I can't thank you both enough for joining me and figuring out the technology this morning that you can join me on our program this morning. So thank you both very, very much.
Thank you so much, Scott. And if folks want us to do educational presentations, then please know that they can reach out to us through email or through our website or Facebook page, and we can make that happen.
Very good. Brandi, thank you for being here. Eleana Butler, thank you for being here as well.
Thank you so much for inviting us.
You're very welcome. My guest this morning from Sexual Assault Services of Northwest New Mexico, here with me on KSJE. And I'll be back with more in just a moment, everyone. The time right now is 8:39.